Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Craig Setzer with you on a Friday. Oh boy, seems like it's been a long week, huh? Happy Friday. You've made it through another week. And of course, if you like what you see here on Tropical Tracks, be sure to click the like button, subscribe, and get notifications. And let your family and friends know as well. And there's a big archive of the videos, not only on YouTube, but also on craigsetzer.com. You can go back and see what we did in the past several weeks here. So first off, the advisory has just come in. So what I like to do every time is start off from the top and talk about who is being threatened right now, who doesn't need to worry about anything for the next 5 days. This is what I call my threats and preps graphic here, and basically what we have in blue here is you don't have to worry about any type of hurricane preparations at all during the next 5 days. The red area means you should be making hurricane preparations, and in just a second here I will show you the advisory which just came in right now. So right there on the bottom of the hour, which of course anybody who's building graphics and stuff appreciates it when the National Hurricane Center gets their advisories out pretty early. But you can see the red there for the Nicaraguan coast. Hurricane preps should be being made right now, and need to be hurry up and wrapped up because it looks like the storm will be impacting, Julia that is, will be impacting the Nicaraguan coast later Saturday night and Sunday. Some hurricane impacts are also possible to the northwest there, basically the Honduran coast, and there could be a little bit of bad weather down along the Costa Rican coast as well as parts of Panama, and then there's still some squally weather for Colombia as well. And then Belize, folks in Belize, keep your eyes on it. You might get some rain and some wind, but right now the tracks are in pretty good agreement. So that's kind of the close-up. What about everybody else? Well, thankfully everybody else in the Gulf, the rest of the Caribbean, as well as the U.S. coastline is blue. So no threats, nothing to worry about for the next 5 days. No need to make hurricane preparations. So let's go ahead and just get to the new advisory off the top, and then we'll do a deeper dive in just a little bit. So here it is, the 5 o'clock advisory on Tropical Storm Julia. Winds at 40 miles an hour, moving to the west at 18, moving right along there. And typically when we think of a fast-moving storm, it's a good news, bad news kind of thing. The good news is that it's not going to have a lot of time to strengthen over water because it's approaching land pretty soon. So faster is better in that aspect, not a lot of time to spend over water. The bad news part is that folks who are preparing in front of it don't have as much time to prepare. So good news, bad news in this case with Julia. Let's go ahead and take a look at the future track here. And you can see there is the cone. The cone, of course, is the little white outline you can see there kind of standing out. That's the cone outline right there, kind of pokes its head out there over Nicaragua. But of course, what we're concerned about is not where the exact center point of the storm is going to be. We care about the storm's impacts and potentially the hurricane impacts as well. So you can see this yellow area here, that's the tropical storm possibility of conditions. They're extending right up to the Honduran, Nicaraguan coast. Not quite to Costa Rica there, but it does extend outside of the cone. So if you're just playing the old game of am I in or out of the cone, it doesn't really matter because even outside of the cone here you can see some impacts. That red area there, that's the possibility of hurricane conditions, and that goes right up to the coast as Julia is forecast to become a hurricane probably sometime between Saturday afternoon and Saturday night, and then reaching the coast, Saturday afternoon and Saturday night, right? Sunday morning reaching the coast there during the day after midnight to sometime on Sunday, and then after that it's on to the west and forecast to weaken and dissipate there. There aren't 5-day points here because the storm is forecast to weaken before it gets all the way to the coast, all the way past Central America there and into the Eastern Pacific. There's still going to be some moisture around. Of course, this is going to be a huge flood event, unfortunately, mudslides, all kinds of problems, flooding, never a good thing when a tropical system moves into Central America there. All right, let's. If that's all you need to know, and that's the latest, let's go ahead and take a deeper dive and kind of explore what else is going on with Julia and what else is out there. So here is kind of our basin view. I like to think of when I say basin, that means the Atlantic Ocean as well as the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean. And this is a map. It's a surface analysis map that is created by the Tropical Analysis and Forecast Branch, also known as TAFB. They work at the National Hurricane Center as well, and they're responsible for the tropical ocean forecasting and analysis. Up to the north of that is the OPC, the Ocean Prediction Branch, and they work out of the WPC, or Weather Prediction Center, which is in Maryland. So here's the latest, and you can see we have one front that is stalled. It is just to the south of Florida, and we're seeing kind of some dry conditions here, almost like some early dry season weather. And there's another front that's working its way down there to the northwest, bringing some cool weather across much of the country. But what we're concerned about is what's going on in the ocean. We have what's called the monsoon trough. The monsoon trough is where on one side of the trough we have winds from one direction, the other side we have winds from another direction, and we have what's called the ITCZ, or the Intertropical Convergence Zone, and basically that is winds from one direction but not quite the opposite direction on the other side of that, blowing together there. And then of course we have Julia. Now Julia was upgraded this morning. This is the latest advisory as of 8 a.m. this morning, but Julia became a tropical storm at 11 a.m., so that advisory doesn't reflect that. Here's the bigger satellite loop, and you can see Julia jumping out right there clearly. There's that old front that's over there. This is kind of the remnants of Tropical Depression 13, no longer a factor there. And then we have some more Saharan dust that's trying to work its way across the Atlantic. May make it across the Atlantic. It is really, really late in dust season here to be having dust, but we have some dust out there. All right, close up on Julia, and what kind of really jumps out right away is you can see the low-level center, and we'll go back there, and you can see it kind of spinning along. Let me get the drawing off the map here, and if you kind of focus between these two lines right here, you can see it appearing there. So what's going on is there is some shear because the storms look like they're going to the south as you would expect on the western side, but they're also kind of being blown a little bit to the south or south-ish on the eastern side, and so that's made kind of Julia not a very organized tropical storm there. As long as that center is exposed right there and not getting thunderstorms around it, then that's an indication of probably slow development. Until thunderstorms get established around that low-level center, we wouldn't see rapid development. And in fact, some of the forecast models that deal with intensity are going very little rapid development chances. Rapid development is 35-mile-an-hour wind increase within 24 hours. So that looks pretty unlikely for two reasons. One, it's not that organized, and two, it's kind of running out of water here before it might get a chance to really get its act together. There's the satellite loop of the infrared, and so we're seeing kind of the higher cloud tops here, a big batch of thunderstorms down there kind of blowing off, it looks like, or at least displaced onto the south side there. Some other thunderstorms here, but while you can kind of make out the storm envelope here, it's somewhat round. There's no concentration of the thunderstorms themselves towards the middle there. So an indication once again of not a very organized system at this time. Here's the shear analysis, and it doesn't show a lot of shear. It implies there's some southerly shear, and there may be, but there's really not a lot of shear. So Julia could just be trying to recover from its interaction with land for a while there. Sometimes you really don't know what's going on until you look at all the data afterwards, and we're making forecasts here, so we kind of just have to do it as a glance. You can see pretty strong branch of the jet stream there. That's creating shear across the northern Gulf of Mexico as well as Florida, and there's also the northern branch there of the jet stream creating shear across the U.S. But of course, tropical systems don't exist overland. That's not where they like to exist. All right, so here's the water vapor loop. A little bit of an upper level low here. Not much going on. Lots of dry air in the Gulf into the Atlantic, and there is Julia. And once again, I think Julia also may be dealing with a little bit of dry air. There's some dry air implied here, kind of on the periphery, especially the northern periphery there. So that's that. There's another upper level low out here, nothing going on there. And the intertropical convergence zone and the monsoon trough kind of quieting down here. We like to see that. This is the time of year when that happens. No surprises there. The tropics begin to quiet down. The water's not as warm. We start to get a little bit more westerly shear now, harder for things to develop. So that's good. And then kind of our focus then becomes what happens basically in closer to our neck of the woods here. And that's something that we always start to watch for is there anything that's going to happen near our neck of the woods? And thankfully the models don't show anything like that in the near term. There's the ensemble for the European. The ensemble is one computer run many different times, one computer model run many different times with little variations to see if there's any uncertainty. You can see the uncertainty is very low. Confidence is high that the system is going to, Julia is going to move right to the west there. These greens, those indicate a moderate tropical storm, maybe a weak hurricane reaching the coast there. And then you can see the models once again today split. There are some that go and skirt the Northeast Pacific, and then there are a few that kind of branch off and then kind of stall here in the southern Gulf of Mexico, Bay of Campeche there. And if that happens, I mean, this is 10 days out, so if that happens, this is something to watch here. We never want any type of feature kind of hanging out there in the Gulf of Mexico, and I'll show you why in just a second. Kind of the overall snapshot looks like that. Here's the GFS, and the GFS also very high confidence of a tropical storm or hurricane coming into Nicaragua there. And then also the GFS today showing a little bit of that break off. Some group of the models go into the Eastern Pacific, the others go into the southern Gulf of Mexico, and what happens after that, kind of uncertain. But a lot of things going on there, and a lot of things, thankfully, that we don't have to pay too close attention to, and there's kind of the overall picture. So let's talk about the steering currents here real quickly. I don't want to spend your Friday afternoon. You don't want to spend your Friday afternoon deeper diving into the tropics, right? So here's the steering pattern that's going on right now, and that big ridge and the big blocking high continues to be draped right across Florida and into the Gulf of Mexico. So that's keeping any systems from coming our way. And the little jet streams the dips kind of move along here, and they don't really threaten the blocking ridge. One moves off there. There we are into Sunday morning. There we are into Monday morning. And then by the time we get to Tuesday morning, you can see what's happening over here in the western U.S. There's a bit of what we call kind of buckling there. This is another bigger jet stream dip coming in. Now this is going to influence this blocking ridge here. It's going to start to erode that western edge of the blocking ridge there. But it looks like at that time, Julia has gone inland, probably just some remnants there, still probably a moisture pool. So we don't have a system that's in the western Caribbean or in the southwest Gulf of Mexico at that time. But we'll watch if those remnants or any type of moisture is hanging out with Julia there in the far southern Gulf of Mexico, the Bay of Campeche there, because this jet stream dip that's coming in, that could steer the block away a little bit and cause whatever is down there to lift out. But those, that's so far down the road, we're not going to worry about that at all. So once again, if you like what you see here on Tropical Tracks, give it a like button, hit the subscribe button, and get notifications. Next week, we're going to probably be done with Julia, so we'll be just talking about how the season has been, what we're looking forward down the road in the season. And I've got some interviews scheduled, so if you are a weather nerd at heart, you might find those interesting. In the meantime, have a good weekend. I think I will do a Tropical Tracks for Saturday afternoon at 4:30 just to kind of dial in what's going on with Julia. And then Sunday, if it's made landfall, we'll probably skip Sunday, and then we'll just play it by ear after that. So once again, thanks for joining, and have a good weekend.